Hey guys, so this was my most anticipated movie of the year, so I think I went in with my expectations a little bit too high, and that's partly why I think I was disappointed, but at the same time, this was just a bad movie. So if you haven't seen the first movie, it's basically just a movie about a giant shark, so yeah, that's basically the plot. Giant shark. And you know, that is enough for me because I love creature features. They've always been a huge guilty pleasure of mine. So I think with the first movie, I was able to forgive a lot because it was something so new to me, because we've seen so many cheesy, campy, popcorn fun type shark movies, obviously, but this one had a huge budget behind it, really good underwater effects. The sharks looked really, really realistic and bigger than anything we've seen on the screen before, so it was something new. So that alone was enough at first, but now I feel like they needed to step it up with the story, with the characters, and instead of going forward, they went backwards. So nobody wanted to like this movie more than me, but I'm just going to be honest. I was really disappointed. So Jason Statham is back again as Jonas, and he's definitely a great part of the movie. I'm a big fan of Statham. He's one of those actors like Ryan Reynolds that always seem to play themselves in movies, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because they're so likable. So I really enjoyed seeing him. Like, you've seen, Wrath of Man, a million other movies that he's in where he's just always that tough guy, the action, stoic sort of guy, and that's who he is here. We have the villain, I don't know the actor's name, but he played the villain in Rambo Last Blood, which is a really good movie. And he's the same sort of guy here, just another villain. Pretty generic, to be honest. So the love interest is dead apparently, and it's never really explained or mentioned what happened. So the love interest played by the actress something Bing Bing, I think. I don't know, she had a really cool name, I know that. So in the first movie, her and Jonas, they were setting them up to be together, and she's just not in this at all. And there's no real mention or explanation of what happened. All I know is that, like, they had this event where there was a picture of her and it said that she'd passed away, and that is it. And Jonas never mentions her. The daughter never talks about her. It just feels like there's this giant plot hole. It's really weird. So one of the major characters might not be back, but we do have the most important character. Pippin is back. So we all were wondering what has happened to Pippin. Well, he's back. This time he's fighting a kraken. I'm not even joking. We actually do get Pippin versus the kraken in this movie. And yeah, that was one of my highlights of the movie to me. So we have the woman whose name I forget, who has passed away in this movie. Her daughter is back, and I really enjoyed her relationship with Jonas. In the first movie, they had a really sweet relationship, and it was really reminiscent of like those 90s tough stoic guy relationships where they form that bond with their child, substitute child, you know what I mean? And it had like family values. We don't seem to be having that so much in movies these days, so it was really nice to see that. We had two of the side characters from the original movie back. Two of the guys, I don't know their names. It would have been cool to see Ruby Reed, however you say her name. Wow, I'm not really good with names today, am I? So it would have been good to see her back, but we just had those guys, and yeah, like, it was cool to see them back. And basically they're still trying to save the ecosystem and the ocean, which is a great thing to do. But at the same time, like I remember in the first movie, Jonas's ex-wife blew up a whaling boat and that was all they ever said about it. Like, were there people on the boat? It just seems like these people could actually possibly be terrorists. So the movie never really explains that. But anyway, one thing that I can say I enjoyed was the visuals. The underwater visuals were really top notch. The shooting locations were amazing. I really love seeing the underwater research facility. It was more impressive in the first movie, but it's still pretty impressive in this movie. One huge problem I had was that it felt like the first half was taking itself so seriously with like the eco stuff and the underwater robot suits, but it dragged and took focus off the main, well, what should be the main part of the movie is the Megs, the sharks. And I could have forgiven that if it was just building up tension until we get to, the second half of the movie. But it didn't feel like that. It just dragged. This movie just lacked tension. At least the first one had that. We had those moments of dread, but there was nothing really like that for me in this movie. And then the second half was all bright colours. We had the sharks appearing, and it was obviously contrasting visually with the bright colours, the fun island, with all the dark, visually underwater stuff in the first half of the movie. And also, it was trying to be so serious with like these characters dying, and we only just got introduced to those characters, so we have no emotional connection to them yet. And it sort of felt like the first movie where the actress whose name I can't remember, her character's father died, and it felt sort of out of place because it was such a serious moment in a movie like The Meg. And I'm not saying that creature features can't have those serious moments. Obviously they can. You need something to break it up, but still it felt really tonally inconsistent. It was trying too hard to be one thing at the first half and then way too hard to be campy and like fun and cheesy and over the top. And it felt like it just really needed to blend those two things together. But at the same time, I really don't think you can have both of those movies. I feel like they really should have just stuck to doing what they did well in the first movie, just making it consistently campy, consistently just over the top fun, or making it into a horror, which I'll talk about later. So this time there's actually 3 Megs, and one of them is a trained Meg. And it's sort of like the Velociraptor situation in Jurassic World, where we have these creatures that were so terrifying in the first movie. Well, obviously in Jurassic Park it was movie 1, 2 and 3. They were seen as this major threat. And now they're sort of being domesticated, and it's a giant shark. It just feels like it was so stupid. Even in a movie like this, it takes the danger out of the Megs. And you have Jonas continuously saying during the movie, you can't train Megs, you can't train them. And yet we never see the shark betray her owner or try to hurt anybody. So I don't know if they're setting it up, if they do make a third movie, to go in that direction, because we see that shark is actually pregnant. And they basically shrug it off as if, oh well, who cares? And I really feel like that is setting it up to potentially have a third movie, because that's a huge storyline right there. What will the shark's baby or babies be like? And so the Steve Alton Meg series that this is actually based upon is actually quite a serious sort of horror novel. Like, it's a pretty serious book, and so this movie took it tonally in a very different direction to Steve Alton's original vision for his work. So he's got one book called Hell's Aquarium, and I really feel like that would be amazing if they made a third Meg movie in a sort of deep blue sea but serious type way. That would be so, so good. But I doubt they'll actually go in that direction. I just feel like with the budget they had for this and the special effects and the underwater effects, to have a truly dark, serious, atmospheric horror would have been so good. That would have been such an amazing movie, and I feel like we saw a glimpse of what it could be. There was this one scene with the Kraken when it was sort of emerging from the depths and it was sort of in shadows and you could just see the silhouette of the Kraken, and it was like, I got goosebumps in that moment. And there were other moments with like the trailers of the Meg with it rising to the surface, and if they just focused on that, like, it was sort of similar to the recent Godzilla movie, I should say reboot. I don't know when it came out exactly, but the first Godzilla reboot where they're jumping off that the planes and all the flares are going down around Godzilla, so you can't really see Godzilla too clearly, but you can see the outline in the shadows of her or him. I don't even know what gender Godzilla is, but anyway, that is not the point of the video. So the point is that was one scene I thought was really, really well done, and it showed what a more serious movie could have been like. So yeah, it's a pity we're not going to get that. And if they had just, like I said, really leaned into the campy, cheesy, fun, okay, I still would have enjoyed that, but it just felt like they were trying to do this serious thing without actually making a good, serious horror type movie, and then they were trying to blend it with it, and it just didn't work. So we had these weird land sort of monster creatures that I think they were intending for them to be funny, but they came off as just unnecessary, especially when they had monsters like the Kraken that they could have been focusing on, but we didn't really see a lot of that. So in the end, we see Jonas getting a helicopter blade and stabbing one of the Megs and blowing the other one up, all while riding on a jet ski. So he makes it look so effortless. And obviously the third one is the pet one. So yeah, well, we've got to remember that in the first movie, we see Jonas actually punching a shark. So yeah, which actually is something that really happened. There was a professional Australian surfer, Mick Fanning, who really did punch a shark. So yeah, I guess it happens in real life. That's one thing the Meg actually is realistic in, surprisingly. So yeah, I just think maybe this is a case of my expectations were too high, and the first movie was just so new in terms of effects and the size of the sharks that, I don't know, I just didn't really feel like this movie could live up to my expectations. But like I said, I also think this just was a poorly made movie. Let me know what your favourite shark movie is down below. I really like I said, Deep Blue Sea. There's 47 meters down. Shark Night wasn't too bad. So yeah, I would say honestly, this would be a 7 out of 10 for me. So I would say it's definitely worth seeing it in the cinema. If you're going to see it, go see it on the big screen. The effects are still pretty good. If you're a fan of creature features, go see it. You'll enjoy yourself. Like, it's a bit boring at first, but it is entertaining towards the end. It's just, yeah, it could have been so much better. But let me know what you think down below. Please like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Thanks, guys.